while since I've posted anything. Just haven't done anything exciting, I guess, worth videotaping. But recently bought this. This is a 1942 Chevy 1.5 ton truck. So it's been an interesting journey with it so far. I bought it from a guy in Florida, who bought it from a guy in Iowa, who bought it from a guy in Wisconsin. The guy in Iowa seems to think that maybe it was owned by a fire department. Kind of makes sense with the black and gold striping. We're finding out that the front wheels under that black, there's actually gold paint. Maybe they got scratched up and somebody just painted over black. I don't know. But it was very well maintained, and I've been wanting an older truck and I just couldn't pass this one up. Let me show you some of the reasons why. So the engine is all complete. I mean, everything is here. The only thing missing at the moment is the carburetor. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. And the windshield wiper is not working, but considering all things, that's not bad. What made me fall in love with it is basically the sheet metal. If you look, there's no rust. There's a little bit of surface rust in here. Had they had the felt and the carpet in it, maybe that wouldn't even be there. Don't know. The seat's out because have you ever tried to climb under the dashboard of an old vehicle? They didn't make it easily serviceable. And I had to get this, this is the window regulator, out. It stopped working, but it allows the front windshield to tip out. So, oh, reminds me, I left my light in here. That might be beneficial here. So I can show you back in the corner here. There's like no rust. Ooh, I haven't shined a flashlight in there. Found a nut. Oops. It could be useful. I'll put that in there. That'll confuse me later when I try and figure out all that those parts go to. I'll have an extra one. Just means it's well taken care of. The other thing that we noticed is the bed has a little bit of wood rot. The previous owner used this as a stage, and he replaced the wood in here with some of that engineered plastic stuff. Great wood, don't get me wrong. I don't know why he ran it left to right instead of front to back. Anyway, so the bed will have some fun. I can talk a little bit more about the interior. So the interior is complete. The only thing that doesn't work is the throttle cable. The sheathing moves. And let me turn my light back on. It shows let me see if I can get it in there. Not quite. 5,418 miles. I'm not sure if that's complete, but she certainly has low mileage based on what I've seen in her. One of the other things we found, we were trying to figure out how in the world, because I don't know much about these older trucks, how are you supposed to keep the hood up? We assumed that you went all the way up on the hinge and it kind of dangled out there. I ordered these little rubber things because it appears that that's the correct way to do it, and is you set it just up on these rubbers and then it keeps from scratching, things like that. Minor things like this, whatever you call that stuff, around the seams. Hood needs a little bit of work. Looks like that's probably why one of the things doesn't shut well. But you can see the pinstriping, paint on it is gorgeous. So she was well maintained or refurbished. The last guy did not do any of the refurbishing, and he had it for 2 years and used it as a stage. We noticed the spark coil is not located where it should be. I should have brought my light around, but there's 2 bolt holes. They're actually down here. Can I get out of the way? Yeah. So that's where the spark coil normally mounts. And one of these, I think this is the throttle cable, the sheathing slips on. So we got to fix that. Radiator's in good shape. A little bit of oil leaks here and there, but nothing big. Let me show you the parts that I am working on right now. While I walk to the other end of the shop, I had a fun endeavor trying to get insurance for this. She's an old truck, 42. It's a 1.5 ton truck, which makes her a 16,000 gross vehicle weight truck. So most classic, well, nobody will touch anything this old unless you put in the classic car category. So that's where I landed. Oddly enough, long story short, Haggerty ended up making an allowance because I want to haul things once in a while. I'm like, I'd like to go to the feed store or go to Lowe's and pick up a 10-foot piece of lumber. It's a farm truck. So I want to use it as a farm truck and parades or, car shows or whatever. I don't know. Didn't buy it for that. But now that I have it, I'm like, maybe I should look into that car show thing. Anyway, so I finally found them. It was fairly inexpensive to insure it, full liability and whatnot. So, but let me show you what I got on the bench. We have two projects. One is the carburetor. And what happened on this is, it doesn't want to focus. Let's see if I can get to focus now. This is the accelerator pump, and it is not supposed to be fuzzy like that. Let's see if I can get it to go. There we go. So that's leather, that inner piece here, the lower piece. Well, it's metal, and then leather, and then on top here is cork. So this is what's supposed to slide in and out of this, which is the accelerator pump housing. So as the mechanism moves, it's supposed to squirt. Short of that story is when you would press on the gas when we're trying to drive it home, it would sputter under load. As soon as it got hot, it was more pronounced. Don't ask me why. I'm still learning this mechanic thing. But it was clear that it was something in the fuel delivery system. We looked at everything, and I'm like, well, it's got to be the accelerator pump. And as I looked into it, it was this style. Unfortunately, I bought the wrong kit. There's two styles. One where you rebuild that piston because it's got a nut in it that you can take off and then get that stack off of there and replace it. The one I bought was pre-assembled, but anyway. So the other bit I'm working on is that front windshield window regulator. Try and say that 3 times fast. So there's a guy out on the internet who for $300 I can ship this to him and he'll fix it. But what is broken is this hole is elongated. So this shaft has a worm gear on it, right? It presses on this set of gears, and this set of gears rotates this gear, which has teeth on it, which intermix with these holes, and they push in and out. So this would be sitting in the dashboard like such, and it would crank out, and that red end bit is what would connect to the windshield and push the windshield out. So because this is oblonged, it no longer engages with the worm gear no longer engages with this gear here. So if I press in on it, which I can't do one-handed, it actually works. So for $300, there's a guy out there who will apparently braze this and make the hole correct again and then ship it back to me. I'm like, I think I can braze and drill a hole this size. My trick is trying to figure out how to get this out because this is looks like it's cast. So it doesn't come out in one piece. I am assuming that this shaft somehow comes out and then these parts fall out. If you notice, there's really 4 sections to this. There's the one that has the gear engaged in it. There's this other one here, and then the gear set piece. So might be that we could press this out. Looks like somebody's maybe tried to do that. And get this hole redone. The other part of this story, I guess, is it seems like it's maybe never been done because that's a rivet that's in on this side. So that rivet keeps this piece of brass in place, and that piece of brass is pushing in on the shaft to keep it from, I'm assuming that one of the guys was saying that brass keeps it from wobbling, but I don't think that's the case. I think that's the key that holds it in place. So I'm guessing, can't really see around it. I'm guessing that this goes into a collar, like a cylindrical cut in things, and it's just holding on to it to keep this from coming out. As you turn it, it's going to want to push on things, so it's keeping it from backing out of that hole. So that's what we're working on. Carburetor is #1 priority. There's, I guess, so they're having a bit of weather in Wisconsin. I think where the car parts, the classic car parts company is. So I have to work out with them probably tomorrow to figure out if I can get the right parts kit to rebuild the carburetor. In the interim, I guess the 42's kind of stuck in the shop with no way to get it in or out. I could push it off a cliff. It's a bit of a downhill to get it out of the shop. Then I can get my tractor and side-by-side and things out and use those here around the yard. But then I'd have no way to get the 42 back into the shop. I could push it with the tractor maybe, but then the tractor would be stuck outside. It's kind of a plug right now in the way of getting things in and out here. But either case, it's a fun and new saga for us here at the homestead. I'm trying to figure out now, I'm like, so do I need to join a classic car club? Nobody seems to really be into the old trucks. A lot of folks around here are into hot rods and those kind of things. But we'll see how this all turns out. Stay tuned, and I'll let you know if I get this thing back up and running smoothly. All right, update on what's going on with the window regulator. This little chip here is brass, it looks like. It was in that slot. I drilled out the piece that was holding it in place. It looks like it probably sits here when it's all together and keeps that from walking out. I tried pushing this down. It didn't seem to want to go that way. I'm guessing it could go either way, up or down. I chose to push it this way. I kind of used definitely don't want to put like a plier or anything on the splines of this. But I use this to kind of wiggle it to get it to move. And you can see this is probably seen better days too. It's a little cracked, but it serves its purpose at the moment. So this is almost out. I'm going to take a punch and just kind of go up there and push it the rest of the way out. The hammer got it flush, but this should get it the rest of the way out. We got it the rest of the way out. Comes out, looks like that. So you've got the spline on this end, and then the spiral on this end. We'll clean this up and see if we can get that. The next piece out is this. I'm not sure how that's going to go. I got to go super slow because if you hit this stuff too hard, this is like pot metal, is what I've called it. It looks like it would shatter pretty easily. I could heliarc it back together or TIG it back together, but I don't want to have to do that if I don't have to. We just want to be able to get to a point where we can, there's probably not enough light in there, redo this hole here. All right, so update on this. I took my handy dandy, see if that'll balance there if I let go. Took my handy dandy tapper hammer and lightly tapped on that shaft, and sure enough, it started going down. So I'm guessing I should be able to just tap that shaft out and then get these gears off and then fix that hole. Yes. Okay, so as advertised, it just starts coming out. I'll finish, my punch was too big. By the time it wedged in there, it's larger than the shaft. So I have to find something a little bit smaller, finish pushing that the rest of the way out. I'm guessing this is just gonna all fall as a mess. So, yeah, we'll see what we can do about that. All right, this next part has me a little scared, but I think I can deal with it. I didn't think about this. This is a spring. So as soon as I pull my screwdriver out, it's gonna launch this thing. So I'll have to look at catching that, but not a big deal, I don't think. And then I'll be able to smash it in. But I'm guessing this is kind of like those snap bracelets you see the kids wear. Similar kind of concept, it seems. Okay, so with all this out, I drew on here with my Sharpie. That's about a 1/2 inch circle-ish. Yeah. The drill bit I used for the gauge is not round. It's got flat spots on it so it doesn't spin. But so we have this shaft that goes in here. Basically what happened, just going to get some good light on there. There you can see there's like a wobble, right? So I was thinking weld it up and then drill a fresh hole in there. And the guy who's offering rebuild says, I guess what he does is I'm going to take and I ordered a bronze bushing. So this is the shaft here is 8 millimeters. So I ordered an 8 millimeter ID, 12 millimeter OD, bronze bushing. And so I'll get that cut, fit it in there, this drilled out, and then I'll braze it in. Then we should be good. That shouldn't wobble anymore. So we'll see how that turns out. After much filing and finagling, basically what we end up with is this hole elongated. Yeah, it's not round. I used a file. Get over it. But then this bushing here, which is going to be my new bearing, slides over that. And the vice grips are kind of holding it crimped over in about the right direction. The whole thing has wobbled outward kind of this way. So it was sitting more like this in the thing. So the objective here is to get this backlash, kind of like the way you'd set up a rear end, set. So that I don't have very much play here. And the play on my rotation is, that's just, there's some slop in it. But I want a little bit of play this way so it doesn't bind. So I might actually tighten up my clamp a little bit, which is forcing the axle here over towards the meshing with the spiral gear. And the spiral gear, let me see if I can work that out a little bit. So you can see what's happening. If it's, if I turn it, it is actually moving in and out, which means it's engaging with the teeth on that section there. So I want to see that move nice and solid. My backlash in and out isn't a lot. So I've got it pretty tight there. So now all I need to do, I don't have any brazing rod. I got to go get some brazing rod. I don't want to weld this. This pot metal is probably really, really fragile. And if I destroy this, I'm in big trouble. So I'm going to try and run a little bit of brazing in here and do this just kind of gently, and then I'll remove the axle and the shaft and the clamp and such and finish brazing that in, because I do not want to braze the gear set and such to anything else, or the axle to the bushing. We just want to get this bushing in there. And then I've got a lot of extra play in here just to make sure that it's square and such. Once I'm done, I will go ahead and cut that and grind it flush so that it is not sticking out. But that's the plan. That should get this all rebuilt. I did test before I put the clamp on there. Right now it's clamping against the shaft so it won't rotate. Or I would show you that I can actually make this odd gear rotate, which is what engages with this, this strap. Long-winded way of saying, I'm going to braze this in place now. All right, so this is actually another replacement I got. Kind of really hard to see with the shadowing, but this hole is wobbled also, or wallowed, or oblong, egg shape, whatever you want to say. So it would probably work fine, but I have the other one that I was working on. Brazing didn't go too well. So what I actually am going to try is I just took, it's this muggy weld stuff. The pot metal just melts way too easily. I'm trying to get this so you can see. So I just basically filled in a blob of metal in there. And so now what I have to do is get the camera to focus, is try and shape that and grind it down flat, because I've got it way too thick. But more material is better than what I had, which was not enough. So I'll see how well I can get that in. I'm going to get a little bit better bushing. I think this bushing being non-shouldered is going to be problematic. So I'm going to get a bushing with a shoulder, and then try and drill this out to exactly 12 millimeters and go at it that way. We'll see how that works out. Well, after grinding, working out a little bit, trying to precision drill that hole, I think the gears will mesh. I could turn this, but it moves the whole thing in and out because there is a key that keeps this shaft from moving in and out. But I think I got it about as close as I need it to be. There's a little bit of a gap between this and that. Doesn't make me super happy, but it's going to have some play, and that might just be fine. If I have to fill in a little bit more there, I'll try. So the next move is to open this hole up so that a bushing fits in there. I don't think this is the exact bushing I'm going to use, but basically that's going to go in there like such. And then that shaft will ride on that bushing. Hopefully the bushing won't wallow out. But I'm going to get a bushing that has a step in it instead of this smooth-sided one. And that'll sit on the outside of this a little bit to keep it from falling in. So this is an 8mm hole, roughly. I need to make it a 12mm hole. But I'm going to order the bushing first that goes in there. It'll be basically this size. I suppose I could play with that, but the trick is now making this one centered. The trouble I had with the other one, if I look at this one here, this one's not as bad, but the other one was wallowed out badly. So I had to try and figure out how to drill into an oval hole to make it round and larger in the right edge. So I needed it really to be round towards this side, and the bit would want to walk into the other part of that. So that was messing me up. That's where this whole plan B thing started. So now I should be able to get that going. I will fill in a little bit more once I get that step bushing in there, but I got to get it ordered. Well, I got the radiator rebuilt, or the radiator. Radiator's up there. Got the carburetor rebuilt and mounted, and it seems to be running fine. Underneath the gust, I just can't talk today. Underneath the dust cover is most of what we were concerned with. There's the accelerator pump. That's all working now. But the problem I have, you can see that vice grip is connected to what they call the heat riser valve. And apparently it's stuck in the let's heat everything up mode. So once the car or the truck motor warms up, it is supposed to slip back into the open mode. So I think that's what's causing me the problem, because the fixing the carb didn't change anything. It's all still stalling out, or it won't take a load as I try to accelerate once it's warmed up. Before it's warmed up, it runs fine. That kind of makes sense with this little flapper. Let's see if I can get down there so you can see it a little bit better. But there's a weighted piece on there. It's supposed to swing back, pulled by a spring, which is supposed to be on that, but the spring gave up. So I've discovered that I'm still struggling to get that valve to move. So this part here needs to rotate. There's a shaft. Oh, right there, that lower shaft. The upper one's the one that holds the spring. I can see the valve inside the exhaust because I undid the exhaust flange and popped in so I can stick a screwdriver up. Took pictures of it. It's just right up there. Sprayed some lubricant up in there, try and free it up, but I just can't quite see in there and manipulate stuff. So certainly would be way easier if it was on the bench, but I don't want to undo all of the exhaust manifold, which loosens up the intake manifold. If I had the intake manifold off, it would make it easier too, but I don't have a gasket. So just kind of letting penetrating oil seep in and see if I can mess with it in a bit. All right, so there's the other side. It was not doing this. Sometimes I can get it to, bounce. Seems to kind of hang here. I'm hoping that the spring will help pull that back. But now it certainly moves freely now. So there's that position and over to that position. All right. Seems like life is full of plan changes and whatnot. So what I was going to do tonight changed. So I thought I'd come in and shoot this quick video, let you know where I'm at with my hairdresser. My gosh, what's up with my hair? With the window regulator, front windshield regulator on the Chevy. So, sad story. Let me see. So this is the one I was trying to fix. It actually fixed fairly well. I got a bushing in there. Yeah, it looks boogered, but I could grind it and make it look prettier. But when I realized it wasn't going to work out, I got discouraged and gave up. So really what it is on this one is the gear here has some issues. It's just a little too chewed up and it doesn't always catch. When you spin this, it spins fine with no load, but as soon as you put a load on it, like the front side or back side of these teeth are just not happy. No, that looks terrible from that angle. But actually it's riding on the nice brass bushing on the inside, so it's actually pretty smooth on the inside and the outside. But I had bought another one, and that one was in a lot better shape on the gear, but the part that I had to put a bushing in here for, it wobbled only slightly, whereas this one wobbled so much that it wouldn't engage. For fun, let's see if I can set this up somewhere so you can see what I'm talking about here. So this is what actually makes things move. This runs on this tooth track, but of course on the inside of this. But it reminds me so much of those new snap bracelets that kids have got. So it's now in the truck, the other version of it. Let me walk over there and I can kind of give you an idea what's going on with that. Don't know if I mentioned, we cleaned up the shop a lot just so I can get the Chevy in the shop now, which is nice. It had, as I was going through fixing the carburetor, I bumped, no, it wasn't the carburetor. It was, well, I think I'll have another video on things. But now you can see the windshield now cranks out. And that's what we're after on this one. So let me show you how that works. Kind of as you saw, here's that snap bracelet thing. But the crank here will allow that to turn in and out. So this one works somewhat smooth. It's a little binding as you go out, but that's okay. That's only part of the air conditioning system in this truck though. We also have this lever here, which if you push that downward, it actually makes the cowl pop up. That completes the air conditioning system from a 1942 Chevy truck. So you have the cowl, or you can open the windshield. They did not have wing windows in this year. I'm not sure what year they finally put wing windows in, but that helped. I think it might have been 47, the same year they stopped doing the crank out front windshield, just to kind of give it a little bit more to do. But there you have it. That task is completed. So the other tasks that are left on the truck, one is get it registered, but I've got to get it over. Somebody has to authorize or approve or validate the VIN for it. It's easiest if I just take it over to Lee Vista, which is where our tax collector is here in Florida, and have them come out. They come out and go, yep, that's what it says, that's what it is. So I need to do that. I need to do an oil change and lube the whole thing. All right, so I know I was kind of all over the place on this this video. I recorded over a couple weeks. It's been we've been at this, but did finally get it over to the tax collector, so it's registered. Pay my taxes on it. I have a new antique license plate, so that's all good. I still need to do the oil change and lube. That's not a high thing on my list, but the good news was we drove it from the house here to the tax collectors, which is about a 9 or 10 mile trip. Went there and back with no issues with it stalling out or anything. In fact, since then, we've also been out. I've taught Cody to drive a stick, and Karen has learned. Connor is waiting his turn, but hopefully we'll get that done here in the next few days. So everybody can have the joy of learning to drive a 1942 Chevy. It's a little more skill. It's definitely a lot more physical to run through and operate this guy. And it's a little more fiddly. It doesn't have all the computers to keep the idle and the air mixture and all those things fancy, but I kind of like the old school deal that it has, in that you've kind of got to know a little bit about what it is to be able to keep it running. But there she is, all registered. Thanks for watching. If you get a chance, subscribe and leave me a comment. What do you think I did right or wrong? I wandered a bit. I almost destroyed a part, but then fixed it and then decided it wasn't fixable. So anyway, take care and God bless.